Well, not long now till BBC Learning Zone, which opens in 10 minutes on BBC Two. Before that, we've got some personal memories of two unforgettable women.
My husband and I were on holiday with the family when the accident happened. My daughter Claudia woke me in the morning in tears. I said, "What's the matter, darling?" And she just said, "Princess Diana's dead."
The death of Diana had a particular impact on Helena Best. The princess had helped her family through a horrific personal tragedy. In 1981, Helena's daughter Rebecca was pregnant with her second child. Her first baby had been a healthy boy, but during her second pregnancy, a blood transfusion in the days before blood was screened left both Rebecca and her unborn daughter Bonnie infected with HIV.
When Bonnie was in hospital, on one occasion, a letter was shown that had been sent to a little girl from Princess Diana. Bonnie started crying and said, "Why can't I have one of those?" And it was suggested that she write to Princess Diana. She wrote and said what was wrong with her and her mummy and said, "Please don't tell anyone about us." So this thing that Bonnie couldn't even tell her very best friend, she had shared with Princess Diana. She not only got a handwritten reply, Princess Diana sent a photograph of herself and signed it. And Bonnie was absolutely thrilled with this. Bonnie died just a very short time after she received the photograph and letter from Princess Diana. The day after her death, we held Bonnie's funeral. And we had a call from the hospital that evening to say that Princess Diana had come to the hospital to visit Bonnie. We were told she stamped her foot in frustration when she heard that she was too late. I was absolutely devastated. She'd been to visit Bonnie because more than anything, Bonnie had wanted to meet Princess Diana and she'd missed it. Sometime later, Rebecca received an invitation to lunch at Kensington Palace. Rebecca had started to deteriorate by that time, but when she came back from lunch with Princess Diana, she was absolutely glowing, and she said to me, "I don't need medication, I just need to have lunch with Princess Diana every day." Rebecca was becoming far more ill when she received an invitation to a pre-Christmas reception at Kensington Palace. And it was suggested that I should go with her. Princess spotted Rebecca sitting in her wheelchair. And I just have this memory of this very tall, very beautiful lady swooping down on my daughter with her arms outstretched. It was the last place Rebecca ever went to. She went back to the hospital from the reception and didn't leave her room again until she died. Princess Diana was the same sort of age as Rebecca when she died. I just couldn't get over the show of feeling, the sea of flowers. I think it just shows how so many people felt about the princess. We just sat and watched the funeral on television. I was just devastated for Prince William and Prince Harry. I really was very, very badly affected by it. And even now, we often use the route that Princess Diana's coffin took when it was being taken for burial. And I can never go along that road without thinking about her. I grieve for all the people who won't have the benefit of her kindness and compassion, as my family had.
Evita Perón, born into poverty, rose to become the most glamorous and powerful woman in Argentine history. Married to dictator General Juan Perón, she held a nation under her spell. In the late 1940s, Evita was always accompanied by the young wife of a politician, Lilian Largo Marzino de Guardo.
Los otros, los rojos.
Today, Lilian is 88. She still remembers the day she first met Evita.
Y me hizo mucha impresión porque me recibió.
She made a huge impression on me because she welcomed me dressed in the general's pajamas. She had the trousers and the arms rolled up, 2 plaits, no makeup. She looked fabulous, gorgeous.
Ninguno, espléndida, preciosa.
Lilian must have made an impression too because Evita asked her to become her companion. They were inseparable for 3 years, and during that time, Lilian witnessed the legend of Evita take shape. She remembers Evita brushing aside genteel forms of charity in favor of lavish gestures of generosity.
A todos los saludaba, los abrazaba.
She greeted
besaba.
everyone, embraced them, kissed them.
Impresionante porque había gente a veces que iba con
And it was quite amazing because there were people with cuts or skin problems, and her own secretary would take her away to dab her face with alcohol. It might be contagious. But she wasn't in the slightest bit worried. Evita embodied a new kind of glamour and statesmanship that spread beyond Argentina. In June 1947, Evita was invited to tour Europe. But behind the scenes, Lilian was becoming even more indispensable. One night, when Lilian was writing her diary, her phone rang.
Liliancita, cuando Evita me...
Lilian, darling. When Evita called me Lilian, darling, I knew she was after a big favor. What are you doing, Lilian, darling? I'm about to write my diary. Oh, but how interesting. Come and write it next to me. So off I go to her room and start to write. After a while, I figure she's falling asleep, so I get up very slowly and tiptoe out. When I get to the door, Lilian, darling, in the end I slept in the armchair. She just wouldn't sleep without me. She must have felt very lonely.
Porque Evita no se dormía, claro. Estaba muy sola allí.
On her return from Europe, there were suspicions of ill health, and in 1951, at the age of 32, Evita was diagnosed with terminal cancer. But Argentina was not ready to let her go. Unable to stand, she was corseted in a steel frame hidden under her fur coat, so that she could parade before her devoted public. But a short time after, on the 26th of July 1952, she died, throwing a nation into shock.
Era un ídolo, Evita, en ese momento.
She was an icon, she still is. Her charitable work reached so many, and she carried it out with such warmth.
Tan grande y hecha con tanto cariño. La gente la adoraba.
People just worshipped her. It's something I still notice today. There are people who worship Evita, like a saint.
Como si fuera una santa.